Hey now, say now, welcome back to the Stanford Cardinal Dynasty. After a long and grueling season, we cap it off today in a national title game, a game in which the Stanford Cardinals saw lose last year, but they return in a matchup against their heated rivals, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. What a way to cap off a successful season. Heisman Trophy winner Josh Pinto looking to take home another trophy. This one, the most prestigious award in college sports, the College Football National Championship. A champion will be crowned here today. Notre Dame's path to the title game included a 12-2 record where they did lose to number 15 ranked Texas, who actually didn't make the college football playoffs, and the same Stanford Cardinal team which Notre Dame lost to at home 45-24. Additionally, they did have some impressive wins, including number 5 Miami 35-21, as well as number 6 ranked Clemson. Notre Dame beat two quality college football playoff opponents in the regular season, as well as their 2 playoff games to get them in the championship round here today. Notre Dame's team leaders included a number of familiar faces like quarterback Blake Hebert. He completed 66% of his passes, en route to 3,800 yards, 32 passing touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. Their rushing leader is star running back Kendra Young, who finished with 1,500 yards on the ground on 5 yards per carry, 20 touchdowns, averaging a staggering 108 yards per game. Receiving wise, they're led by Elijah Burris, who had 989 yards and 6 touchdowns. Scrap Richardson added 892 yards and 6 touchdowns. And then Bettis Jr. finished with 746 yards and 10 touchdowns to lead their team. On defense, they're led by Durbin, who finished with 97 tackles, 4 TFLs, 3 sacks, and 2 interceptions on a very solid campaign. Their safety Johnson added 81 tackles, 2 TFLs, and another 2 interceptions, while his safety counterpart Blair finished with 77 tackles and 2 interceptions. Their TFL leader was edge player Bryce Young with 14 TFLs, with only 4.5 sacks though, while defensive tackle Thompson led them with just 5.5 sacks on a year. So no big standout players on the line, however they did have a number of sacks as a team. So the stage was set for the 2029 national title game. Ben Bonito boots it deep, and Lorenzo Queen fields it 2 yards deep in the end zone for the Cardinal. He brings it out, and that's where Stanford will start their drive inside the 30. Keys to the game in this one, Stanford's got to win on the outside. They've got some playmakers on the offensive side of the football, and they need to make sure they get them and feed them often. We skip ahead to the drive inside the 30-yard line. Bubble screen to Jalen Mbakwe. He picks up 2 blocks en route to the end zone, and the Stanford Cardinal gets on the board early here in South Florida, taking a 7-0 lead over their rivals in the title game. That's how you get your playmakers the ball and let them take advantage of it. Notre Dame found himself in a hole early, just like a lot of teams that face this Stanford team. They face a 3rd down just outside the 50-yard line. Hebert's going to change the play before taking a snap from empty. Stanford sends the blitz. Gilbert gets home. He doesn't get the sack, but he forces the errant throw, and Notre Dame is forced to punt the ball. After forcing the punt, Stanford faced a 4th down backed up in their own end zone. They take the snap. Quick screen to McLaughlin. He picks up some blocking and picks up tough yards to get the 1st down to extend the drive. That conversion helped them get all the way down inside the 20-yard line. They set up a mid-screen to Mbakwe. He picks up another tough yardage en route to a 1st down to end the quarter. After flipping the field, Stanford then faced a 3rd down and goal. Pinto drops back the pass, faces quick pressure, and Bryce Young gets home to sack the Heisman Trophy winner. Notre Dame forces a field goal, and Stanford takes a 10-0 lead in the 2nd quarter. Notre Dame's offense back on the field, now down 2 scores, starting to drive at the 25. Hebert drops back the pass. His protection holds up, and he finds a wide open Elijah Burris up the middle for the 1st down. Their drive then gets inside Stanford territory. Herbert drops back to pass again. He finds his tight end, Joseph Vinci, who fights all the way inside the 15-yard line. They then get down to the goal line. Herbert back to pass again. His protection holds up. He has all time to throw, but eventually that time runs out, and Bryce Jenkins comes through for the sack to stall the drive. Kicker Ben Bonito comes on for Notre Dame, and he boots this one through for the short field goal, finally getting the Irish on the board, and the lead is 10-3. Same score going into the halftime break, where the defenses are making it tough on both sides of the ball, though Stanford was able to break through early on big plays. 164 passing yards and 55 rushing yards, but just 6 yards per play, while Notre Dame's only averaging 4.7 yards per play. Defense dominating so far. Going into the second half, Stanford ball at the 50. Pinto drops back to pass. He dashes right and finds Jalen Mbakwe wide open downfield. Huge play there as there looked to be a defensive coverage bust, and Stanford capitalizes, getting the ball inside the 10. Stanford set up just outside the 10 after the huge play. Pinto out of the gun. Inside give to Hazelwood. He finds an open lane and walks into the end zone. Touchdown Cardinal, and they take a 2-score lead once again, 17-3 out of the break, and the Stanford offense smells blood. Irish back on the field, now down 2 scores again here in the second half. Hebert, he drops back the pass. His protection holds up, and then he threads the needle to Vinci. He breaks 1 tackle, breaks a second. He fights his way past the 50-yard line for a huge gain. Then, later on the drive, inside the 4, back to pass again. Another laser by Hebert. This time it goes to Scrap Richardson, and Notre Dame breaks through for the touchdown, cutting the lead back to 7 here in the third quarter. Stanford takes over after the Irish strike back. Just outside the 50, Pinto changes the play, drops back, finds a wide open Cameron Hazelwood on the sideline. He's tackled down at the 1-yard line for the huge play. He was wide open on that one, and Pinto found him for the pickup. Then, just feet away from the end zone, Pinto's going to set up an empty. Direct snap, calls his own number. He walks into the end zone untouched, and Stanford comes back with a touchdown drive of their own to extend their lead back to 2 scores. However, on the ensuing extra point, Cardinal have some trouble with it, and the Irish come through to block the extra point. It's recovered by Stanford, but their lead which remained just 13. Irish then take over. They find themselves down 2 scores again. Hebert drops back to pass. He finds Kendre Young on the outside for a big pickup as they flip the field. Then, a few plays later, Hebert drops back to pass again. His protection holds up, but the ball is batted down by Trey Rolden, and on 4th down, Stanford gets the ball back for their offense. Stanford now finds themselves in the driver's seat. They send Skinner in motion. Outside give to Davis. He picks up 2 blocks downfield for his receivers, and he's in the open field. Runs out of bounds at the 20-yard line. Huge pickup there to flip the field for the Cardinal, putting them in excellent position to extend their lead here late in the game. Few plays after that big run, they get the ball outside the goal line on the 6. Pinto direct snap, calls his own number, and he walks into the end zone for the touchdown. And the Heisman Trophy winner can smell the champagne popping as Stanford takes a 29-10 lead here in the 4th quarter. Notre Dame takes over, and they feel the sense of urgency here in the championship game. Herbert's going to take the snap. He's going to dash to the outside. He cuts it back inside and sees nothing but green. 40, 30, 20, 10. QB 12 does it himself on the ground. Touchdown Irish, and they say, hold on, it's not over just yet. 29-17 there after the huge run by the quarterback. But the game came down to an onside kick. Bonito's going to boot it. It bounced up. It's recovered by Queen. And Stanford holds on. And they will hold on to be the 2029 national champions and finish undefeated on the year. What a bounce back season for the Cardinal. And they are officially atop of the college football mountain. Huge win there over their rivals, and this one wasn't really particularly close as Stanford's defense dominated from the kickoff and their offense found a way to make plays when they needed them the most. Coach Grimble is a college football title holder as the leader of this Stanford program. It only took us 5 years and we finally did it as Josh Pinto takes home MVP honors after 272 yards through the air and 2 touchdowns. Offensively, they caught their stride later on in the game, finished with 489 yards with 217 yards on the ground, no turnovers, and an effort where they absolutely dominated the time of possession, while Pinto countered with 272 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Hebert was very effective with 260 yards and a touchdown, but he didn't do enough to help the Irish come through here. Kendra Young basically had to get written out of the game plan, finished with only 26 yards on the ground with 16 carries for a staggering 1.6 yards per attempt, while Blake Herbert did have a 75-yard run to make their running game somewhat decent. On the flip side, Cameron Hazelwood finished with 86 yards and a touchdown on the ground, while Chris Davis, who's been battling wear and tear, finished with 62 yards and a big run on the ground for himself, while Pinto added 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Receiving wise, Jalen Mbakwe led the team with 95 yards and a touchdown, while Cameron Hazelwood had 52 yards on a coverage bust there that led to a touchdown drive. Pat McLaughlin added 46 yards, while Heath Sun had 36 and Mikael Skinner added 27. For Notre Dame, Joseph Vinci led the way with 75 yards on 6 catches. Elijah Burris added 67 yards on 7 catches, and Jerome Bettis Jr. added 55 yards and 5 catches. Kendra Young had a big catch out of the backfield, finishing with 46 yards. Defensively, Dylan Stevenson led the way for Stanford for 10 total tackles and a TFL, while Coy Beasley added 7 tackles and David Canada had 5 tackles and 1 TFL. Trey Roden led the team with 3 TFLs and a sack and a dominating effort on the defensive front. So that wraps up today's episode. Stanford are officially champions, but we're not done yet. There will be a season 6, and next episode we'll kick off the offseason, which should be a big one as Heisman Trophy winner Josh Pinto could decide to declare to take his talents to the NFL. But for now, we are champions.